Welcome to the Booked Photographer. I'm your host, Jaime Bugby, and this is my first podcast with an interview. I've never done this before, so I'm super excited to have my first guest here today. And her name is Casey with Louise Photography. She's based out of Seattle, and she is a motherhood photographer and educator. So, welcome, Casey.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be your first guest.
I'm excited too, and we share a lot in common. So I was really glad that you said yes when I reached out to interview you. So I'm excited to dive in. So I go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about you.
Sure. Well, as you already mentioned, I am based out of the greater Seattle area, and my passion is really all things motherhood, specifically intimate motherhood and early motherhood. So I always like to say like bumps babies and breastfeeding. It's kind of like a funny way to put it, but that's what I'm really passionate about. And I have two very young babies myself, so I'm very much in that season of life. I have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. And so I'm just in the thick of it right there with the families that I'm capturing these times for. And then within the past year, I've dove into the educational side of photography as well, just because it's something that I love and has brought so much fulfillment into my life. And being able to do it full time while raising my children is really hard work and also something I'm incredibly grateful for and want to help others achieve. So I'm really happy to be able to now share what I've learned along the way.
That's amazing. I love that. And it is such a blessing to have this job when you have little kids. Mine are 6 and 9, and I started when they were babies, but I completely understand why it's so nice to have. It gives you such flexibility. So I'm so happy for you. So I want to hear a little bit more about your story and your niche and your business. But you and I share a background in dental hygiene. We're both healthcare providers. And I want you to take me from the moment you realized you were ready to move from dental hygiene to photography and then into motherhood photography. Like, how did you get from like dental hygienist to photographer to motherhood photographer?
Yeah, so in 8th grade, I decided I was going to be a dental hygienist. And it's because I knew that I loved caring for people and helping people and thinking practically. I thought, well, that's going to be healthcare. And I have a lot of nurses surrounding me in my life, and I know what they had to go through in nursing school. And I thought, I don't want to do that. So I had a neighbor that was a dental hygienist, and she really sold it for me. So I thought, okay, that's what I'm going to do, and went through the whole process. As you know, it is really challenging.
Sure, yeah.
So we feel like I went through hell and back to become a dental hygienist. And
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for that career because although it was not something I was really passionate about in the end or wanted to continue doing, the structure of dental hygiene school and getting through it really helped me. Um,
Oh, yeah.
I do have ADHD and I am dyslexic, both things I was diagnosed with as a kid. So I always really struggled in school. Like, actually barely made it through grade school, high school. But when it came to dental hygiene, because I was so determined and like knew that I needed to make this happen, and then the structure of it, it's almost like you have to be extra, pardon me, extra organized, extra
Yeah.
like everything, boom, 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 to get through. So it taught me so much that I think it's really translated into owning, running, and growing my own business as an entrepreneur. And then I met my husband, I met my best friend. So that was really special too.
Yeah,
And
that's amazing.
I'm just gonna do the microphone thing for 2 seconds since it's rainy on my end.
No worries. No worries. Yeah, I was getting a little bit of background noise there. So, well, awesome. That's so funny you said
Um,
that about the nursing school because I think a lot of people think like, oh, I'll just do dental hygiene, and then you get into it and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. So it is a lot of education, and it is a very difficult program, and it's really difficult to get in. It's very
yeah,
competitive. So yeah,
very.
I can definitely see how that helped you. Yeah. Okay,
But
cool.
I
Um,
used that career. Sorry, I feel like I didn't fully answer, but I used the career to move abroad to Germany, actually, where I lived and worked and studied abroad in Germany for 2 years, working as a dental hygienist. But I knew there that I wasn't passionate about it. And I actually got called out by another hygienist who recognized that I was really just there to do my job and leave and go live my life. Because as you know, there are plenty of people in the dental profession who are very passionate about it, as you should be. So I knew then that it wasn't for me, but we moved back from Germany to Seattle. Then the pandemic hit, and then I was pregnant, and it was like, oh my gosh, like, well, what am I gonna do? My husband was transitioning out of the military at the time, so I was commuting, doing dental hygiene, knowing that I didn't love it, but knowing that I had to do it for the time being. The flexibility of the career was convenient, throughout all that transitioning, motherhood and all of that. But basically, I thought, well, what are my passions? And my passions are traveling, breastfeeding, and photography. So I was like, well, you can't travel right now. We're in the middle of a pandemic. I'm not going to go back to school for the lactation at the moment. So that really left photography for me.
That's amazing. I love that. Yeah, I didn't know I wasn't passionate about hygiene for a while, but now that I look back, I think I was like maybe my fifth year in because I was a hygienist for about 17 years. And I don't remember like a specific day, but now remember looking back like, okay, it was then that it was kind of coming to me, but I didn't know it yet. So, yeah. Okay.
I think,
So tell me,
sorry.
go ahead.
Oh, I think in total I was a hygienist for maybe 7 years. Yeah,
Okay.
total and all of it.
Mhm.
And when I went for photography, I really went all in, and thankfully, I was able to replace the income I was making with dental hygiene with
It's
photography
amazing.
within like 3-ish months, but not like ahead. So I was like, oh, I kept doing it, and then I actually quit dental hygiene 6 months into photography and just had to take the leap. Like it's been happening for several months in a row. I'm just gonna
Mhm.
believe and make it continue to happen every month. And that was over 3 years ago now. Yeah, just
Wow.
over 3 years
That's
ago.
amazing. That is very fast. You are kind of like the overnight success story. I mean, I know there is no really overnight success. I know you worked really hard to get where you are, but that is quick, which is amazing. I love that.
Very, very determined. It's a lot of work, and thankful that I found the right people at the right time, like the right communities. I have a very supportive husband. Um, so yeah, just really thankful that, of course, I feel like it was very aligned. It was my passion. I worked super hard, and a lot of things, really helped line up for that success in a short period of time. So I'm super thankful for.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. That's amazing. I love that. I want to talk about what drew you into maternity and newborn photography specifically, because I love your work and I love that you are super niche, because I think a lot of people are afraid of that. So, was there a specific session or season that made you fall in love with that? I mean, you mentioned lactation, breastfeeding, all that. Was it, do you think it was the season of life you were in? Like, what did you feel like really made you say, like, I'm doing that and that only?
Well, it's funny. I have always sort of been like obsessed with or really looked forward to being pregnant, giving birth. Both of my births, I did not have an epidural. My second baby actually was just at home in our shower, breastfed both of them. So that's something kind of like that I always looked forward to. And I tell these stories of like when I was younger and we'd take pictures with our friends would be like, oh, peace sign or whatever. And I would stick out my belly, like pretend to be pregnant in like our fun, just friend photos. So it was something that I always was like really obsessed with, looked forward to. And
Yeah.
the way I really launched my photography business was I had my first DSLR and the shutter was broken, but the touch screen worked. So I rented a studio in Pioneer Square in Seattle for 3 hours, and I scheduled 3 sessions with just people I knew. One was a boudoir maternity. One was just boudoir, although she was about a year postpartum. And then the third was a family maternity session. And I said, if these turn out, like if I like enough of these images, just clicking the touch screen, like I'm going to do it. I'm going to start the Instagram. I'm going to tell people they can pay me to take their photo. And I did, and it worked out. And so even from the very, very beginning, even though I did go on to try different types of sessions, from the very start, it was boudoir,
You
maternity. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. So that kind of brings me to my next question because I know a lot of photographers are like thinking like if I niche down, that's super scary. I don't want to do that. And if you're newer, you want to photograph everybody and everything because you think that's how you're going to make it. So what would you tell photographers that are struggling with imposter syndrome, especially when transitioning like from a career, and what helped you build your confidence to actually start charging for your work?
Well, of course, I started out. I literally just came up with a random number. It was like I think I said 100 or $150 for a session, and
Yeah.
so I just randomly came up with something just to get paid for my time. But
Hmm.
as far as the niching down goes, it's like I think it is good to take pictures of anything and everything when you're starting. Because one, you
Yeah.
want to learn the actual skill, you want to learn the light, you want to learn all sorts of different situations, times of day, places. There's just so much that goes into it. So practice as much as you can and as much as you want and get paid for it, at the same time, even if it's not maybe what you really love or you're super passionate about, but pay attention as you do different types of sessions. When you leave, were you excited about it? Did you enjoy it? Like, are you looking forward to going back and reviewing the images? Or are you like, okay, well, that was crazy or weird, or like, at least I got paid for it. You know what I mean? Those ones, like, probably
Yeah.
don't keep doing those types of sessions. And just as quickly as you can, pay attention to what you really enjoyed, what you're
Mhm.
looking forward to looking at those images, what you're excited about sharing, and lean into that as much as you can, I think as quickly as you can. And
Yeah.
that will help you love the experience. It will help your clients love the experience. You'll be excited about your images. And I feel like that, like authentic alignment in business really shows. You can't really fake being authentic, and clients
Yeah.
know that. And you'll avoid burnout. It'll just like propel you, I think, if you're able to follow that.
Yeah, amen to that. That's great advice. I remember I do families branding, family films, and education. And I remember doing a couple weddings and I quickly realized I was like, no, this is not for me. It was too much pressure. I always tell myself if I can't redo the shoot, I don't want to do it. And then I did schools for a while and I did make a lot of money right out of the gate. Like I did really well, but I was like quickly learned like I am not a high volume photographer. Like I do not want to do that. I remember when I was doing it, I thought I would rather do dental hygiene. And then I was like, don't do it. Because I really didn't want to do hygiene anymore. I was really burnt out. So yeah, I think that's great advice. So, okay, awesome. Well, you're a mom and a business owner. So you have like two full-time jobs. What does balance look like for you now? And what advice would you give a photographer who's listening who feels stretched too thin? Because I think we all feel that way sometimes.
Definitely, that's one of the hardest parts. It's like I left the 9 to 5 so that I could be with my children and also do something I love that was for me, also do something to financially contribute to my family. And it's so much of like every single day trying to figure out, like, gosh, would it be better if I left and worked and then when I came home I was fully present and not always multitasking? But I think as moms we're kind of always multitasking, because if it's not my career then it's the laundry or the grocery list or the doctor's appointments. Or so I think it's just every single day and trying to create boundaries that you can hold. I got a work phone and that was a great boundary that I set. um, Always sitting down and reevaluating my schedule, when makes the most sense. And as our children grow, it's always changing, which is something that's really incredible about owning our own business. We get to make it up. It's not like I just
Yeah.
have a job. These are the days and times, period. I have to make it work. It's like, no, okay, now my kid's doing this. Well, then I guess I'll, I'll do sessions on these days instead. And you get to always change that and have that flexibility and freedom, which is really nice. Um, and it's overwhelming trying to do it all at the same time. So I think
Yeah.
setting those boundaries, making sure that you're doing sessions that you are passionate about so that you actually enjoy it while you're there and all of those things.
Mhm.
Getting help, that's something that I've been doing more recently is outsourcing where I can, absolutely.
Yeah.
And just being intentional in general, intentional with your time with your kids, intentional with your time
Mhm.
with your business, and intentional
Yeah.
with time for yourself too, doing something for you.
Yeah. I'm really bad at that. But yeah, that's good advice. Yeah, I think it's hard to get out of the mindset, and you probably agree with this. Like, you're used to like the 9 to 5, and you think you have to do that when you have your own business, but you can be like one day I'll work 10 hours. Like, I could do a lot, and then the next day I don't work any, or I do 4 hours one day and 2 hours the next, but things pop up, but I have the time freedom to go do them and as I wish. Sometimes I've got deadlines and things like that that I really need to get to, but it's so flexible. But I've thought the same thing, like, is it easier if I just go back, or should I keep going? And then I'm so glad you said that, because it is always something. And I'm so much happier and I'm not burnt out. And I love creating my business as much as I love creating the photos. So, amen to that. I love that.
And I was also
Um,
thinking that, oh, now I might have lost it. That's real mom brain for you. I just had something
yeah,
totally gone. Um,
anyone. Okay.
yeah, it's gone now. I'll let you know if I think of it again.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask you, what are some of the biggest changes you made in your business that help you start booking more aligned clients and help you like really protect your boundaries and your time? Like, as we were talking about, like, the 9 to 5 and feeling like you have to do everything and you're stretched thin. Like, how did you attract them and work with people that you just absolutely love working with? Now, with that said, like, I do want to say and be transparent, like, I think every photographer that's full time and successful, we always have a few people who are like, okay, that didn't feel super aligned, but it wasn't awful. But how did you find those clients, or how did they start finding you?
That I remembered I was going to say one of the things is systems, putting systems and automations in place so that I
Yeah.
can just, yesterday was a really hard day for our family and somebody
Yeah.
booked a session without me ever lifting up my phone or opening my computer. It's just at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, someone's booked and paid and on my schedule because I set it up, or like last week I was at the park with a friend and my son, and same thing. I didn't even take my phone in a pocket. I get in my car afterwards and oh, I've got a booked session full. And so having those systems and automations in place is super wonderful, to help take the
Mhm.
load off of me and to allow me to be present when I'm with my family and set those boundaries. So having those in place. And then one thing I was going to mention is even still, I do think it's great, as often as your schedule allows, to still explore. So I don't always say no to everything that's not bumps, babies, and
Sure.
breastfeeding, right? So it's like, especially if it's for a family that I've seen multiple times and they're like, hey, would you want to do this extended family session for us? Or would you want to do like, do you do this or do that? I'm like, this is a long-term family. We have a good relationship. Like, not my usual
Yeah.
jam, but I'll do it. And then sometimes
Mhm.
it's like, oh, you need a senior session. Like, oh, thanks so much for thinking of me. My schedule's full right now, but let me refer you to this photographer I know who's amazing at senior sessions and just building
Mhm.
rapport and like sharing where it's appropriate. It's like there's the right photographer for everyone. And
Yeah.
a lot of times it's like so many photographers in my area, we've seen the same families, but we're just better at like
Mhm.
specific types of those sessions.
Yeah. I want to expand a little bit about what you said about systems, because I know some people listening might not understand what that means. Like, take us from like they find you to they book you and pay. How are they finding you, and how are you having a totally hands off for that experience for you?
Yeah, and sorry, it also goes back to when you asked, like, how do I find these aligned clients? And
Uh-huh.
I show what I want to attract, whether it's in my on my website, which is huge, of course, and or my social media. I'm always showing this types of
Mhm.
sessions that I want to attract. And
Mhm.
that's very affectionate. It's a lot of skin to skin, like those types of things.
Mhm.
As we're moving into the winter months, I'm showing more in home and in studio sessions um and so, yeah, showing what I want to attract. And then, like you said, maybe once a year I get somebody that I'm like, how did you end up with me? But I think a lot of times when that happens, it's because they view our work and they want that. They want to be portrayed that way. They want to be seen that way, but maybe they're not as used to it and maybe they're not ready for it. It's not as aligned for them, even if it's what they are wanting. So yeah, I definitely rank on page one of Google. That's huge for me. And as a like maternity newborn photographer, I am always seeking mostly new families, unless it's families coming back having their second, third children. So I really do always have to be finding new people or having new people find me. So I show up on social media consistently. I put a lot of work into my website, number one. I'm
Yes.
always updating that, Google business profile, yeah, SEO, all of that. Um, and then I have all these automations and systems in place. I use HoneyBook, so it's all systemated, automated through there. So somebody gets to my contact page, they submit their form, an email automatically goes out to them, both letting them
Mhm.
know how to move forward and letting them know that I'll be reaching out personally in the next 24 hours. But if they choose to just move forward without talking to me personally,
Mhm.
there's just so much education that I've put in place where they can find out everything that they need to know without my
Yes.
actual personal time. So they get the contract, they get the invoice, they get access to my schedule, they get sent to their client lounge. Like they just have everything they need where I can be totally hands off, at least in the beginning.
Yeah, that's amazing. And especially when you're a mom and you're busy and life happens, like having that system set up where people can find you kind of on autopilot and book you, and you've got all those systems in place to do that for you. It's amazing. I have the same, pretty much the same setup. I I rank well on Google for multiple locations, and then I have systems set in place. So if somebody inquires, an email goes out, and then they go to my client lounge, my welcome page. They get all that information. They have the ability to book from there, or they can just shoot me a message. So that's amazing. I love that. Tell me a little bit about working on your website and what that took, like as far as like patience and expectations of like SEO and things like that.
I will forever and always shout out Mary Beth Bryant because she is
Mhm.
amazing. Also local to Washington, although she's on the other side of Washington. I worked with her pretty early on, and she doesn't do the work for you, but she is just
Right.
such a wealth of knowledge, and
Yeah.
she really walked me through all of it and
Mhm.
helped brainstorm together. And then it was just so wonderful because we came up with a plan. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's nice to like, even though you have to do the work yourself, sometimes it's nice to have your hand held a bit. And
Oh, for sure.
and she definitely did that. She's so wonderful to work with. And yeah, so I
Mhm.
worked with her and I just did absolutely everything, same thing when we did our mentorship
Mhm.
with Elena. It's like so wonderful
Right.
finding the right people and
Right.
I just like do what
Mhm.
they're recommending, basically.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. I love that. And about how long did it take for you to start ranking? Was it pretty quickly, or did you find it took a little bit of time, like a few months? Like, I think people have something in their head like the overnight success, or you're going to do a little bit of work on your site and then it's just going to magically work. I hate to say it, but there is part of your business where you do have to hustle a little bit and you're in that season. So, what did that look like for you, and what was your mindset while you were doing it? Like when you weren't getting booked right away, but you were working on those things. What helped you say like, okay, I know this is going to work. I'm working with somebody that can help me, and we're creating a strategy, because I think that's another thing people don't realize is like that takes some strategy. Just as you said, you came up with a plan. How did you work through that while you're like waiting, so to speak? Because I think that's really hard for people.
Yeah, again, I think it was relatively fast for me. 3 to 6 months probably to end up
Yeah.
ranking maybe on page one at that point. But that was just because I really just bit by bit every day. It's like I've kind of said from the beginning, I realized I could sit down at least 5 days a week for 10 plus
Yeah.
hours
Oh,
and
yes.
continue to have things to do for my business. Obviously, that is not realistic because I have
Right.
young children and I have a life and a home and all these other things that need me as well.
Yeah.
But it's about doing something every single day and just like
Yeah.
riding sort of like the waves of life and the energy levels you have and what else is needed of you when, but something every day. So I just kind of listen to that. And I think because I have ADHD too, I will like have these urges or ideas or things and like trying to either stay organized or have the ability to sit down and like, when you are able to, you can like really get through some things. And then you have other times where you're like kind of all over the place. But as much as
Oh
I
my God.
can, I try to show up and show up consistently.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned you did a little bit every day and here and there, because I think a lot of people think like, well, I just got to sit down and like do it full time, and it's just not realistic. And not only that, it is the consistency that will really grow your business as well. And the things that are unsexy and not as super fun as maybe doing a photo shoot, but knowing that that is going to be like a long-term goal. It's a slow burn. So I love that you said that. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
and it's been described as like your storefront, right? So it's like
Mhm.
if you go in and you do all of this work, sure, maybe it helps. But then if you just let it sit there, they're like, hello, is anybody, when's the last time somebody opened the store? Like, and, you go into retail and it's like there's changes seasonally and they restock, they move things around, like it's your
Yeah.
storefront. And so it's a constant thing. I'm still
Mhm.
always, even on page one, I'm always reevaluating. I'm always updating my client experience, like their whole,
Mhm.
from the second they find me on their Google search, I want it to be a smooth, efficient experience for them.
Mhm.
And so I'm always
You're
refining
always
that. Always. Yeah.
Yeah, love that, because I think that's another misunderstanding. Photographers saying is like, "Oh, I'll do it and I'm done." It's like you're never actually done. And if you've done it and you're not ranking or you're not getting booked, there is so much work you can do, which is the good news because it can work. So awesome. Okay. I want to go back to when you first started, and I know everything happened for you so quickly, but if you could go back to that person that you were in the very beginning when you first started, what would be like your top three things, like the best advice? If you were looking at yourself when you were like, this is the day I started, what would you tell her?
It's a very good question that I I've got to be honest, like just very thankful for the way things have happened.
Mhm.
So I don't think I would like necessarily tell myself, to just do this or avoid that, or because I am really happy with the way it's happened. I can say that maybe for someone else who that doesn't just naturally happen as smoothly or as easily, I can definitely say like community is incredible. So like we have a
Yeah,
local photography community here in North City Studio. They hold monthly community meetups for
that's
networking
amazing.
and just like there's a guest speaker. And my very first meetup, Elena was the speaker. So
Oh, cool.
that's the luck if you'll have it. Like I had this
Yeah.
very close local in-person community, immediately
Mhm.
met her. Um, and yeah, and just believing that you can make it happen too, like just really leaning into like there's people and there's systems and just if you're passionate about it, you just have to go for it, you know? It's like I don't know,
Yeah.
like I'm also really big into like manifesting and law of attraction and those types of things as well. So I feel like for
Yeah.
me, it was very much like this is aligned. Like this feels right. This feels good. I'm
Yeah.
passionate about it. In my other
I
career,
love
I wasn't. And so I
it.
just, with that came determination. And along the same lines was the lack of having the right community at the right time.
Yeah, I love that you said that. I've always felt like it was like a book I was looking at, and that chapter of my career was closing, and it was hard because I think a lot of, but in my life, I had a lot of people say like, well, why would you do that? You're gonna have a career. Like now you're gonna be taking more time away from your kids, but they couldn't see the big picture that I was doing it to have more time with my family and it didn't feel aligned anymore. And it wasn't that I wasn't thankful for my job or what I did, but it was just like, it was just time to close that book and it was time to go into a new chapter and it was time to get to work and I was ready to do it because I was excited and it felt aligned. I love that word. So,
And
and Byron, we were talking about Elena. I want to say really quick, we're talking about Elena S. Blair. That's how we met. She has an amazing mentorship, and that's how I really started off my photography career. I found her on Facebook, and I took her posing guide on Creative Live. So we're talking about Elena S. Blair when we refer to Elena. And
I
I'm
like what
sorry.
you about wanting to you leaving this safe job, and it's like I and where we live, the cost of living pretty much everywhere
Oh
these
my
days
gosh.
is really
Yeah.
high, right? And so it's like I
So,
actually always thought that I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. Like that was actually the
yeah.
plan. I was like, oh, I'm just going to do dental hygiene because it's safe, but then I'm going to have kids and I'm going to stay at home. And maybe when they go to school, I'll work a couple days a week. And so the plan for me was always to spend as much time with my children as possible. And I just realized so quickly that, like, wow, if I do have to leave them and I do have to go make money, it has to be something that I really love, that I'm passionate about, that is for me, because especially as a mom, you realize how valuable your time is. And you just
So
don't want to waste it doing anything that you don't really love.
yeah, I remember when I had my first child, my son, he's 9 now, and I suffered postpartum depression, anxiety, intrusive thoughts, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, how am I going to leave him and go back to work?" And it was really hard and really awful, but I will say that experience, I was like, I have to do something else. Like I just he completely changed my perspective on life. As most people say, like you have kids and the things you thought were important before weren't, and your perspective changes. So I'm I'm sad I went through that, but also it gave me like this whole new life, so to speak, in a way, and a really difficult learning lesson, I guess. But yeah, once you have kids, you're like, okay, this is how do I get more time with them because you know how precious your time is and how fleeting it is. So yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about your retreat because I'm so excited to talk about this. It looks amazing. So I want you to share about it, but I want to ask you a few questions before we dive in. So I want to know what inspired you to create it and what gap did you feel photographers were experiencing that led you to say, like, they need this?
Yeah, so when I started my education journey with photography, I've always been somebody that, like, whenever I do something, I'm always a big sharer, whether it worked out or didn't. I really like to talk about it and share and hope
Yeah.
that either people, can learn from my mistakes or learn from the success and be like, okay, that sound like I want that. I'm gonna hopefully get there faster, easier, whatever. So I knew right away that I wanted to do the in-person stuff because, like I mentioned, that photography studio that has the monthly community meetups, I just value the
Right.
community so much. And I heard a lot in the beginning that photography is a lonely career because you're a solo entrepreneur and you're not going to work with coworkers and all those things. And there was, photographers who maybe were gatekeeping things, um, which so thankfully I didn't end up experiencing really much of that at all, despite what I had heard other people experiencing a lot of that. And so I just thought that, just feels so good, and I want to continue that. So I wanted to do in person, so I started with workshops. And a lot of what I create is really intimate. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of skin to skin. There's a lot of vulnerability. There's a lot of vulnerability in motherhood in general, especially early
Yeah.
motherhood. And there's just these huge changes to our bodies, and there's bodily fluid, and there's just like, it's just such a huge experience and transition that we go through. And I really wanted to capture that in all its beauty, but also in its rawness. And it's interesting when I say intimate, it's not like the intimate that I think that we generally think of between partners,
Right.
right? But like motherhood is so intimate. And
Mhm.
so that requires a lot of vulnerability. And so that's
Mhm.
something that I feel like I thankfully am able to create that comfort in that environment for my families that I capture. And that's
Mhm.
something that I think would be beneficial to share with others who are interested in sort of the same niche.
For sure.
So I started with my in person workshops. And then, honestly, just as a mom going through busy season and all the things, I realized that this time around, I wanted a little bit more. And
Mhm.
I'm gonna let you chat for a minute because I
Yeah,
hear the
no
car
worries.
going.
Well, that's fine. I have another question for you. If you could paint a picture, like the day they show up to your retreat and through that whole, I don't know how many days it is, you can tell me, but through each day, like what can they expect and experience from like your sessions, education to the community? What makes it special compared to other workshops?
Yeah, so one thing is like I kind of mentioned, the work is never done and the seasons are always
Right.
changing. So it's like I'm always reevaluating. The fun part about it is that you can create this life and this business however you want. And I think the beginning of the
Mhm.
year is a great time for that, right? We're always like resolutions going into next year, fresh start. So I thought the timing of it is really nice coming off of the busier season, going into like this time of the year. My retreat's in February. It's 2 days, the 7th and the 8th, in Kingston, Washington. It's like on the water. It's going to be such a beautiful, like, Pacific Northwest in the winter time, but still so beautiful. And
Yeah.
I really wanted a space where we had more time, that it wasn't a workshop, because my workshops, although they've been incredible, they've been full days, like full back to back, 2 to 3 sessions. It's a lot to do in one day. And what I really wanted was to allow the space and the time for more connection, more deep dive, more like reflection. And we talk about alignment and authenticity in business and just in life. That's what I really wanted to allow time and space for. Is for these photographers to come and join me in a very small, intimate group, and for us to have the time to visualize, create what we want our life and business to look like this next year, talk about the systems that we need to put in place and go over some of those, so that we can, like, it's our dream. Like, this is our dream, this is our vision. And I wanted the time and place to bring that to life for this small group of photographers. So, of course, we're photographers. Of course, there's going to be styled sessions. But what I wanted was a retreat that was like so much more, something for you to breathe and reflect.
I love that. Yeah, to take a moment to align yourself and think about what you want in the next year. I love that. That's amazing. And I love workshops too. I mean, I love all things education. Like I always say, like I'm a shiny object person. Like I'm like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, and I have this idea and I want to do this. So I have to be really careful and I have to do a lot of research and really make sure. But this, I think it's so important to not only like learn things, but also to like slow down and ask yourself, like, what do I want so that you're aligned and that you don't get burnt out and that you do start the new year in a either the same direction or you're like, okay, maybe I didn't want to do that, something I did before, as well as those people that are like, maybe I was slammed this fall and I don't want to be, I want it to change that. Or if you weren't busy, how do I become busier and what do I need to do to put that in place? Because really, starting, I think 3 to 6 months before you want something is a really good runway. So I think that's perfect timing for your retreat, and what a special place to have it, and that you can like just chill. Because we all need that, especially as a mom running a business. Like, it is nuts. I love that.
Definitely. And I think, it's like we realize these things as we go throughout the year. It's like, that didn't feel good. This did feel good. And we're taking note, but it's like, I'm a dreamer. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs probably are, right? Like many of us are dreamers. That's why we've like dreamt this up and we've created it. But it's one thing to dream, but then you have to make a plan to make your dream come true. You have to take the time to sit down and figure out, okay, how do I make this dream a reality? And that takes time. And as a full-time business owner and a mom of two young children, when do I have the time to sit down and envision what I want this dream to really look like and how do I execute it to make it happen? So that's what I wanted for this. So it's like we're going to start the retreat with a sound bath, like a professionally led sound bath, like overlooking the water. We're going to have a private dinner. Um, Funny enough, I've hired a magician for like
Really?
no, no, you think a magician like his birthday, but I want it to feel like magic. I want your life to feel like magic. And, so there's part of like, sure, it might be silly, but it's like also fun, and it's like we'll play, we'll journal. Brooke Holiday is going to come as a guest educator and do a session. And she's a motherhood photographer, but she's also a film artist. So she's going to be talking a lot about slowing down, noticing, being intentional. And so that's just kind of the overwhelming theme of it. Like it's all inclusive, meals, snacks, beverages. Like it's going to be a very nice
Wow.
experience. Everyone has personalized gifts and it's going to be small. There's only 6 tickets total. So it is also going to be like a small, intimate community. So you can like actually form connections and support each other
Yeah.
long after the retreat.
Yeah, and I don't, if someone's listening and they've never done like a retreat or a workshop like this, but especially like a retreat, oh my gosh, I always feel like I plug into a source for the new year and I'm like, okay, I've got this, like, because you're sitting alone a lot of times. You're like, do I know what I'm doing? Is this right? Am I okay? Like, what am I doing? Because you're alone a lot. And that's, for me, that's when the imposter syndrome sneaks in a lot. But going to these retreats and meeting new people and connections, you're like, okay, I am on the right path. Or, you meet your expanders where you meet somebody where you're like, well, if they're doing it, maybe I can do it too. And you really kind of latch on to like what they're doing and watching them, and they're kind of, making this path for you, and you feel like you can do it. I mean, it just really gives you clarity and belief and time to just sit, and those 2 days feel like they're so much longer than 2 days, but they go so fast. So it's just a really amazing thing. So I love that.
Yeah,
Um,
to be something
what kind
that's like so
of,
much more than just your 2 days there. Like it's something that
yeah,
actually is going to change your life, change your business,
yeah,
change the trajectory of your year, people, and, memories that you're going to take with you for a long time.
yeah, for sure. So if there's a photographer listening right now and they're like, I think this might be for me, like, who would you say is a perfect fit for this retreat? What kind of photographer, person, where they're at in their business? Tell us more about that.
I think anybody who is maybe a dreamer, right? Maybe a dreamer, someone who really hasn't taken the time for themselves, like to pour back into your own cup, someone who's craving that connection and community. I think to be extra specific, it probably is a better fit for someone who is a mom or works with young children, or like who has sort of that same overwhelm and constant like time commitment to their children and business. I feel like that would speak to you probably the most. And then someone who's interested in the general maternity, motherhood
Sure.
niche. And so it is like the styled sessions are going to be maternity, they are going to be young children. There's also a mom of three sort of older children. I think they might be like 4, 6, and 9. So it's not even just for the small itty bitty babies. That's not just for like the intimate shower bath. But again, the styled sessions are just going to be a part of it, just the fun part. Majority of it is going to be the connection, the alignment, the intentional reflection and planning going into the next year.
Yeah, I love that. Tell me a little bit more about your styled session because they are so beautiful. And I'm going to link your information below. But while we're talking, can you tell me a little bit about like what your sessions feel like? You mentioned the shower and the tub and things like that. Like your photos are so intimate, but paint us a picture like what that might look like during your retreat.
Yeah, so I basically will walk people through my entire process, through communication and building that comfort and trust and relationship with the client, all the way through their session, delivering their images, the details that I notice. It's for me, it's all about connection. It's all about like their experience, their journey, their relationship with their child. And of
Mhm.
course, it always reflects back to like, well, what speaks to me as an artist? And I have spent so much time in the shower and the bath with my children. I actually gave birth to my son in the shower. Like, so yeah, I breastfed my daughter like every night I took a bath with her. And it's just like a place where everything else melts away. Like, you don't have your phone with you, it's like it's just a place. I find it incredibly comforting and relaxing and like and it's just raw. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm almost lost for words when I think about how I enjoy like the bath and the shower and how that relates to motherhood. But hopefully it's something that can be conveyed like through a feeling when looking at my images. And I think that's what
Oh,
I try to share like in person and reflecting like the clients who want images like that and want that experience captured, they of course are like drawn to that as well and must have similar experiences um, with that type of environment.
yeah. Well, I definitely can see your passion through your photos. I mean, they're very like love-soaked, intimate. They're just really beautiful and I feel really weird saying this, but sometimes when I look at your photos, I get a little sad, but I also I get inspired because I feel like with my son, especially like I didn't get those moments having a colicky baby and postpartum depression and all that. Like I always feel like those moments were stolen from me. So looking at your photos, I'm like, I didn't feel that way all the time, but I know if I didn't have that, I would have. So looking at those photos, they almost make me tear up because it's like I wish I had that, and I probably did a little bit at times, but they're stunning and such a gift that you give moms. Like that, it just goes so fast. And to
Yeah,
be able to have that is amazing, and I love that, and I love how what your photos convey. They're beautiful, and they are very relaxing and chill, and I love them.
thank you.
You're
Thanks
very
for
talented.
saying that. I'm sorry, that you feel that way about your experience. That's actually something that I feel like, especially during my maternity sessions as well, I hope that I do reach moms who actually maybe don't always feel that way all the time, and
Yeah.
that I can
Mhm.
provide the space and the environment and the time where it's
Yep.
like we're dealing with our hormones and our emotions and all these things, and it can be hard to be like even with family sessions, right? It's like here is a time and a place that you are gifting yourself and your family to feel that way, like to have that undivided attention and connection so that you can look back and remember like, okay, well, I at least had that moment, like I did have those moments. And so that's what I hope to create for people, even if they don't get that all the time at home, and help other photographers learn how to create that for their clients as well. Whether it's a family session, maternity, motherhood, just creating that space for your families to enjoy that time together.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you're creating the space because I can totally see that you do that to be just whatever you are in the moment. Like it's okay if you're a hot mess. Like it will still be beautiful. And I love the word raw when you were talking about motherhood, but when others talk about it too, like because that was how I remember it. I felt so raw and just naked. Like I was like, I just got stripped down, But I love that you create that space where you can just be in the season and it's fine and it will be beautiful no matter what you photograph. So I love that. It's
Yeah, it's
amazing.
like you feel you feel so vulnerable and raw in the moment, but what I
Yeah.
see is like so much strength and beauty through that because look where you are now and it's like, yeah, it's it is overwhelming in many ways and
Yeah.
yeah, there's
Right.
just so much strength and empowerment that ultimately comes through it.
Oh, absolutely. And when I photograph my families and newborns and maternities, like I see the same thing. Like I'm like, you are just glowing, like, and they're probably like, oh my gosh, she's crazy. But I'm like, you don't see yourself how I see you, but I hope that I convey that in the photos. And the biggest compliment I get is when a mom comes back and said, I love the way you saw us. And I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm gonna cry. Job's
Yeah.
done. Like,
I literally fall
it's
in love with every single person that I photograph, I think. So,
yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Well, is there anything else that we should know about your retreat, about you? Like, what else should we know before we wrap this up?
yeah, I guess I would love to just share, that like I mentioned, there's only 6 seats available total. And
Okay.
it is a lot that's going into the retreat. I have intentionally curated a really nice, thoughtful experience for everybody. And so with
Mhm.
that comes an investment in yourself, of course, and in your business. And I feel like that can be it's hard to invest in yourself. It's hard, especially as a mom, to invest in yourself when I know for me, like I never even buy myself clothes. So like, but I go into a
No.
store, I could buy my kids everything, and I think especially this time of year too, like we're winding down, but it's the holidays. So I think I just would want to encourage people that with a small, intimate group, to definitely take this opportunity. If it sounds aligned, if it sounds like something that you are needing or calling to you, it's on your heart, like I would encourage you to make that investment. I do offer payment plans to make it a little bit more attainable for people.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's February 7th and 8th in Kingston, Washington. And it's going to be incredible. I know that I really need it and I'm really looking forward to it. And
I
so,
need that. Yeah.
so I'm like, so for anyone who is interested, like I said, a very exclusive amount of tickets available and you can find access to that on my website. Maybe I'll send you the link, Jamie, to share.
Yeah, and I'll link everything below and how they can find you,
Awesome.
things like that. But tell us really quick, how can people find you?
So, of course, my website, photosbycaseylouise.com, and also social media. It's a little bit longer on Instagram. I'm photography underscore by underscore Casey Louise. But
Okay.
yeah, social media or my website is great. I'm always happy to answer questions. Like I said, community is really important to me. So I'm happy to be
Mhm.
here as a friend and as a fellow photographer and mom.
That's amazing. Well, I'm very excited for your retreat. And thank you so much for sharing all of your life and your business and everything. I think people will be really inspired by this. I was. And I love that you were able to leave your career so quickly and grow your business. It shows people that it is possible. So I love that. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me. It totally is possible, and that's why I hope to help other people achieve the same. Yeah, thanks
Awesome.
so much for
Okay.
having
Thank you
me
so much. Yes. You have a great day.
too.
Bye bye.